2,000 miles apart, mysteriously turning blood red at the same time. And we don't know the cause for either. Worried residents in both Lima, Peru and Buenos Aires, Argentina have shared footage online reporting strong odors accompanying the discoloration. One local described the scene saying, "It looks like a stream of blood. We have never seen it like this."
Now, psychopath. Specialists have actually agreed that if you can answer this riddle easily, you might be a psychopath. An explorer and his crew were stranded in the Arctic for several months. When they were finally rescued, the explorer was reunited with his wife, to which he told her all the stories about how their ship crashed and the captain had to feed the remaining crew penguins while they huddled on the ice together in order to survive. A few days later, the explorer's wife became curious and decided to try penguin for herself. Now, despite the explorer's experience, he agreed to eat some with her. However, immediately after, he began to cry and ran out of the room. Shortly later, he unalived himself. But why? Now send this to a friend. Let's see if you're friends with a psychopath. Elon!
I don't know. I can't figure that riddle out.
Scary facts that will blow your mind. Part 1. The middle of nowhere is an actual place within New Mexico. The legend goes that an elderly couple lived out there with their dog and witnessed many strange and bizarre things. One night, they reported seeing a strange creature that they identified as a skinwalker. After reporting this to the police, the family had vanished under strange circumstances. Their dog, however, was left behind. This is the story that Courage the Cowardly Dog was based off of. Like and follow for more.
Whoa, I never knew that. I watched that as a kid.
Yo, what's up? These are some signs that your house may be haunted. The first one's going to be that a child is talking to an identified spirit. Now, children's imagination can run pretty wild, but if you've already ruled out the possibility of it being an imaginary friend, they're definitely more susceptible than you are to be talking to a ghost, because they have the mindset of anything is possible, so they won't really think about it that much. The next sign's going to be if you hear unidentifiable noises in your home. Now, obviously, people can make noises and you may not even know that they made that noise, but if you're dealing with spirits and you hear a loud clack or bang, it's usually a spirit known as a poltergeist. They will slam and knock on doors and make any loud noise to try to scare you out of your own home. Don't let them. Alright, the next thing is going to be smelling an unusual scent in your home. Now, obviously, there could be a dead animal in your house, or there could be trash that just needs to be taken out. But if it isn't any of these two things, you might want to look into it, because a very common way that ghosts identify that they are in your home is by smell, whether that be the scent of cigars or perfume. They're trying to get the same smell that they had when they were alive.
Wow, okay. Write those down. Leo. Where the Leos at?
Okay, here's something you can tell your teacher in class tomorrow. According to a first-of-its-kind study, banning mobile phones in schools does not help kids' grades or behavior as intended.
You don't say.
Hate this one. The study was the first in the world to look at 1,227 students across 30 schools, some of which had strict cell phone bans, while others you could doom scroll TikTok at lunch. And guess what? No difference in mental health, no difference in academic performance, and no difference in their sleep, exercise, or classroom behavior. So, what did it do? Well, kids in those stricter schools did spend less time on their phones. But, key point, only in school hours. And the fact that it didn't lower overall screen time suggests that those kids were only making up for lost time once they're out of school, which isn't ideal. But before you go thinking that this is your golden ticket to getting cell phones back in class, I don't think that's about to happen. The study's lead author said that these results show us that we need to do more than just ban phones in schools in order to tackle the negative impacts that excess phone use does have on children. I look forward to reading all the angry messages from teachers tomorrow.
Yeah, I guys think seekers. The banning, just a ban in school, it seems like it ain't enough, man. They might, if you want freaking, I guess, real change, we'll have to ban that at home too. Because as soon as they get out of school, they're going to go on that TikTok scroll. They're addicted to it, man. I don't know how, man. I mean, personally, I'm not. I don't do that doom roll on TikTok. I mastered that. It's pointless to me, so I just don't do it.
Carson facts you didn't know. Blue, that's a girl. Magenta is actually the boy. Tweety Bird isn't a girl. Tweety Bird is actually a boy. BMO actually has no gender. Can you guys please stop calling this guy Zelda? His name is Link. Goofy is not a dog. He's an Aberdeen Angus cow. Like this video if you want a part 2.
Goofy a cow? What the?
The picture behind me might look like a normal photo, but it's actually one of the most sinister, real-life haunted photos in history. Taken by a professional photographer in 1972 as guests arrived for a wedding, everything in this picture looks happy and normal. But if you take a closer look at the man standing in black, you'll see something odd. You can actually see somebody in white crouching behind the man. All 4 of the people in the picture said that there was no one behind them when it was taken. The photographer said the same thing, and that it would be impossible for someone to crouch behind them without him seeing them. This is a better picture where you can actually see the guy's legs, and then in the top you can see his eyes. The picture was even examined by police photographers, and they confirmed that it was genuine.
People are requesting the
notice?
controversial story Playground to be made into a movie. You know, the story where a bunch of kids get unalived in Saw Trap-like fashion, and they're even wanting the Saw producers to make it, but here's why that's never going to happen. One child is used as a human surfboard and is going through a series of spiraling saw blades, and she is turned into nothing but a pile of mush and human flesh ribbons. That isn't even the craziest part of this book either. Playground would need to be toned down so much for so many reasons in order to be made into a movie, and at that point it wouldn't even resemble the original source material. And the Saw producers, my buddies Mark and Oren, have certain lines that they do not want to cross for the movies. They have stated that they never want to see a child in an actual active saw trap machine. And when the writers of Saw X said that they wanted to put Carlos in a saw trap, a child, the producers actually said no. They said it would be too disturbing, too much for audiences, and they had no interest in putting this in their movie. But the writers pushed back a little bit on this, and they said that they were going to use this to help elevate the story, and it was going to up the stakes a lot, and we wouldn't really see anything brutal happen to Carlos. And the producers said, okay, we'll give it a try. And that's my main point here. I understand why people see Playground and they're like, oh, it's gory, it's like Saw, maybe the Saw people would do this, but it just will not. Playground is a splatterpunk novel. It is not traditional horror. The whole point is to go to extremes and be over the top and as gross, as nasty as you can. The idea is to say down with the censorship and just do whatever you want, basically. Splatterpunk authors and game developers don't want anything to be off the table. They want to be as extreme and as horrific as they can to get the best scares possible in their minds. If Playground were made into a film, it would be way more intense than any of the Terrifier movies combined, but just imagine that, but with children. It just wouldn't be allowed to happen. Also, over on my pod, I've been covering controversial and graphic horror films. Last week we did Megan is Missing, and next week we're doing Martyrs, so go check that out if you want.
Psychology hacks you need to know.
Interesting.
If someone is trying to make you decide something in a hurry, they're most likely giving you a bad deal, and you should just walk away. If a person is trying to intimidate you, stare at their forehead with a blank expression. This will psychologically make them self-conscious. Chewing gum when you're nervous really does help, because your brain thinks, I'm eating, so I must not be in danger. If you want to know if someone is interested in what you're saying, cross your arms. If they cross their arms too, this is called mirroring, and it actually means they're interested in the conversation. If you need to remember to do something tomorrow, just put something in your room out of place. The next day, you'll see this item out of place, and you'll remember why you put it there. Finally, if two people are arguing, stand in between them and eat something. It'll help alleviate the tension.
Or you're gonna get hit in the face.
Fun fact, often called one of the most perfectly designed objects to ever be built, we've all sat on a monobloc chair, and it's estimated more than 1 billion of them have been made since they began production in the 1970s. The monobloc chair transcends time. Look at these photos. Tell me what year they were taken. You can't. The monobloc chair is so perfectly designed, unlike cars, TVs, or phones, it's never changed. And since its design was never patented, we aren't actually sure who designed it. Credit is usually given to Douglas Simpson as the original designer and Henry Massonet as the mass producer. Monobloc chairs are really a product of industry. As injection molding became more refined in the 1970s, monobloc chairs were able to be produced on an insane scale and at a very minimal cost.
Nobody got that patent, man. If you got that darn patent, you roll it in the dough. I'm surprised the creator of it didn't get a patent. There has to be a story behind that, right? That's a lot of money he left on the table. Something went down.
This is the moment the 17-year-old is seen smiling after finding out that he was found not guilty for the murder of his mother. The crazy part about this entire thing is that the year prior, he also shot and took his father's life. This all happened in September 2024 when 39-year-old Catherine Griffith was found to death in her parents' home in Auburndale, Florida. Her own son, 17-year-old Colin Griffith, he told police that his mother lunged at him with a knife and then somehow she fell on the knife and lost her life. Now, a few weeks before this happened, Colin had a conversation with his grandfather, which was his mother's father, and do you want to know what he said to him? He said, I quote, "More than anything, I want to slit her throat and feel her bleed out and feel the life leave her body. That's how much I hate her." That's what he said to his grandfather. Witnesses also saw Colin and his mother arguing outside the house, and they saw him grab his mother by the hair and drag her inside the home. Now, the part that had my jaw on the floor was finding out that the year prior, Colin also and took his father's life. During the trial, this detail was not allowed in court, which means that the jury did not know that Colin also took his father's life, because I'm sure that if they knew this, the outcome would have been a lot different. It's actually terrifying that this man is just out and free, and in my opinion, he could potentially be a serial killer, and it's just a matter of time until he does this again.
Someone recently
I didn't
asked
the jury
me
know.
what the strangest thing I've seen in a police file is, and I think I have an answer. It's this trash can. Let me explain. So this trash can was found in Joan Rich's house in 1961, immediately after she went missing. Her young daughter had gone to a neighbor's house and told the neighbor that mommy is missing and there's red paint all over the kitchen. And when the police got there, they saw that the red all over the kitchen was blood. But there were also a few really weird details like this trash can, so the police had no idea what had happened to Joan. So first and foremost is the fact that this trash can is just in the middle of the kitchen. Normally it was under the sink, but here it is just in the middle of the kitchen for no reason. And then the contents of the trash made no sense. So here is the phone receiver, which has been ripped from the wall. You can see in this photo here that the phone is still on the wall, but just the mouthpiece was ripped off. And then moved across the kitchen and neatly placed on the trash. And on the phone was a fingerprint they could never identify. People hypothesized that maybe someone was there, and when Joan went to call for help, they ripped the mouthpiece off. Then there was this beer. So Joan's husband was out of town when this happened, but when he came back, he said that no one in the house drank Miller High Lifes. He didn't drink it, Joan didn't drink it, the trash had been taken out since the last time people were over, but yet there's Miller High Life next to the trash. Joan disappeared that day and was never seen again, and these two little pieces right here are some of the only evidence that someone else may have been in the house. They don't know if she ran away on her own, if she was taken, or what. But the whole story is really wild, and I tell it all tonight on the episode. Also, merch goes live when the episode drops.
What if you had a
Find out what
fetus
happened?
growing inside of your skull right now and you had no idea? In China, an unborn twin was found inside of the skull of a 1-year-old child. This led to more research in Fetus-in-fetu, where the twins fuse and then only one of them kind of undergo development. And in this case, the other one's in their skull. Also, as you can see behind me, this is what they pulled out of the brain. It's about the size of a hand from what I can tell. Maybe a little smaller than a hand. I see some fingers up over here. But that's still pretty significant in size to be inside of your brain like that. And the x-ray is just wild. I'm curious to see how this affected the other twin. Did it have any cognitive impairments on the other one? Did it hurt at all or something? I'm just surprised the other twin's body, while undergoing development, didn't dissolve the twin and kind of consume them. That's apparently a thing that happens when twins fuse. The other one kind of absorbs the weaker one. But this thing looks like it came out of Stranger Things, like season 2, when Will puke that thing into the sink.
Yep.
Also looks like a sandworm from Dune or Jabba the Hutt. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
The picture behind me might look like a normal
Crazy.
photo, but it's actually one of the most sinister, real-life haunted photos in history. Taken by a professional photographer in 1972 as guests arrived for a wedding, everything in this picture looks happy and normal. But if you take a closer look at the man standing in black, you'll see something odd. You can actually see somebody in white crouching behind the man. All 4 of the people in the picture said that there was no one behind them when it was taken. The photographer said the same thing, and that it would be impossible for someone to crouch behind them without him seeing them. This is a better picture where you can actually see the guy's legs, and then in the top you can see his eyes. The picture was even examined by police photographers, and they confirmed that it was genuine.
That'd be a ghost or something, man.
Here's what to actually do if you're buried alive. The first step is to slow your breathing and stay in control of your emotions to minimize oxygen intake. Then try and find something rigid such as a rock to make noise against the coffin in case anyone is still above. Quick note, if you've been buried in a steel coffin, give up. If you've been buried in a wooden coffin, find something to make a hole in the top. When you cut the hole, push the dirt that comes through underneath you and then begin to climb up. If you've recently been buried, then the dirt should still be soft and you'll be able to climb up out alive.
Noted. It's like that, y'all know, remember that Kill Bill the movie? When she had to punch her way out? That's the first time I seen something like that. I remember watching that when I was young. That's just what came in my head when I heard that advice.
I don't know if it's just me, but animal nerds piss me off, bro. Because for some reason, they always have to tell you the darkest fact about your favorite animal that you didn't even ask.
And I'm gonna do it again. Matter of fact, what's your favorite animal?
Favorite animals are otters and seals.
Say less. If you see a sea otter with its nose ripped off, it's almost definitely a female, because the otter mating process involves a male clamping his jaws around her face to hold her in place. Consent sold separately. In fact, it might be discontinued. The males can get so aggressive that they completely destroy the female's nose, where it gets infected and swells to the point where the female can't eat and just starves to death. Or the male gets too excited and accidentally waterboards his partner in the process, which is only a tragedy to one of them, since males reportedly can't tell the difference between an active breathing participant and a soul-evicted carcass, because they treat them exactly the same. Now, you'd expect an animal that dates like this to have more males than females. Problem is, that sometimes leaves an aggressive testosterone incel weasel without a mate. In some of these lower female areas, these down bad water wolverines will settle for anything roughly the same size, which can lead the male sea otters breaking the seal with no approval, and sometimes even guarding the life-retired body for up to a week. Now, it doesn't happen that often, it's pretty rare, and only in those places with a severe gender imbalance. But what was your other favorite animal?
It's seals.
Oh, well, some fur seals in Antarctica have the same problem, where a lack of female causes a hormonal hot dog without abundance taken in to resort to. Yeah, there have been multiple recorded instances of fur seals forcing themselves on king penguins. In one case, a seal assault lasted 14 hours until it eventually gave up and just ate the bird. And now you know why penguins waddle. Say something else. I want you to.
The Grammys are not real, because you're going to sit here and tell me that Billy did not win one single award after being nominated in 7 categories. How is this even possible? Hit Me Hard and Soft was the best album in 2024. I don't care what anyone says. And I swear that throughout 2024, all I heard on the radio was just Billie Eilish over and over and over again. On top of that, Birds of a Feather was a most streamed song in 2024 on Spotify, yet she lost Album of the Year to Beyonce. I'd be crying too if I knew my album was this good and I won 0 Grammys. The trailer for the new
What do you guys think, man? The Grammys is rigged, man. I've heard different stories, you know, like behind the scenes. They was like, didn't Jay-Z? It's like Jay-Z paid for Beyonce to win, but I don't know. That was just like a rumor I heard. I don't know if there's any validity to it, but what do you guys think about the Grammys? Can those awards be bought?
Final Destination movie is finally out. I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but Final Destination is literally my comfort horror franchise. We all know everyone dies, but the death scenes are always so creative, and there's just something oddly satisfying about these movies. So let's watch the trailer together. I also haven't seen it yet, so this will be a blind.
Final Destination, man. I heard that's why people won't, drive behind logs, like log trucks, something like that. That's where I got it from, so stay away from those. Always, man.
What is one true crime case that you just can't stop thinking about?
Interesting.
I always wonder what really happened to 6-year-old Catherine Korzilius. On August 7th, 1996, Catherine, along with her mom Nancy and her brother Chris, were out running errands. Catherine's dad was Paul Korzilius, who at the time was the tour manager for John Bon Jovi. That day was Paul's birthday, so they were all out looking for a present for him. They all lived on Elder Circle, which is a small neighborhood near Austin, Texas. When they got back to Elder Circle, Catherine wanted to pick up the mail from the community mailbox and then walk home. The mailboxes were only about 1/8 of a mile from their home, and Catherine had done this a few times before, so her mom let her. Catherine would take the shorter route home, while her mom and brother would take the longer route around Elder Circle. This way, they would be getting home at almost the same time. But once Nancy and Chris got home, with still no sign of Catherine, Nancy sent Chris to go and look for her. But when Chris couldn't find her, Nancy started searching for her by car. Within minutes, they found her laying in the middle of the road on Elder Circle. She was unconscious, but still breathing. According to Nancy, she didn't want to make her daughter lay on the hot pavement, so she picked her up and took her to the hospital. Little Catherine suffered from a fractured skull and never regained consciousness, and sadly, she died later that day. Authorities initially thought that Catherine was a victim of a hit and run, but certain things didn't add up. Where Catherine's body was found was in an unusual spot. Her mom last saw her walking towards their house, but her body was found a little over a mile away from their home in the opposite direction that she was supposed to have gone. Catherine's body was actually found along the route that her mom and brother took to get home, and the autopsy only deepened the mystery. The autopsy showed that Catherine didn't die from a hit and run. Along with her head injury, she also had abrasions on her left shoulder, lower back, right hip, and her knees. The ME found that Catherine had either jumped, fallen, or was thrown from a moving vehicle. One theory investigators came up with was that Catherine maybe tried to hold on to the back of her mom's car on the drive home, but fell off. This would explain the location of where her body was found. But her family did not believe this, so they hired a PI. The PI noted that it was a really hot summer day, and at the time, Catherine's left thumb was broken and in a splint, so it would have been really difficult for her to hold on to anything. And it's likely her mom would have seen her in the rearview mirror. Catherine's family believes she was abducted and murdered. After her death, investigators brought in a canine unit that tracked her scent to a vacant lot 30 yards from the mailboxes, but it was lost after that. This sparked a theory that Catherine was approached by an attacker at the mailboxes, ran into the lot, was caught and thrown into a car, struck in the head, and then was thrown out of the vehicle where she was found. Nancy also stated that it appeared her daughter's body was laid out for her to find. Her hair was smoothed down, her clothes were straight, and her sandals were still on. Unfortunately, there's never been any answers in this case, and it's still labeled a suspicious death. John Bon Jovi wrote a song dedicated to Catherine called August 7, 415. And sadly, in March of 2020, Catherine's brother Chris, who grew up to be a police officer, was tragically killed in a car accident.
So sad, man.
108 times. In 2018, 26-year-old Chad Omelia's life was savagely taken in his apartment in California by his girlfriend. 33-year-old Bryn Spetcher says that on this day, she was tricked by Chad into smoking a highly potent strain of marijuana, which caused her to go into psychosis. She says that she remembers immediately walking into the kitchen and grabbing several knives and stabbed her dog before going after Chad and taking his life. Bryn then turned the knife on herself and attempted to take her own life before police arrived. And authorities also said that it wasn't easy restraining Bryn and that the taser didn't even work on her. Now, Bryn's defense argues that she reacted this way because she only smoked less than 6 times in her life, which that combined with the high potent marijuana explains why she took her boyfriend's life. Bryn ended up only receiving just 2 years of probation, 100 hours of community service, and no prison time.
News that
What do you
will
think
give
about that?
you hope. A missing 5-year-old who walked out the back door was found in a nearby river and rescued by a Florida officer. A Burger King employee who went viral recently for working 27 years and only receiving a goodie bag from Burger King was able to buy a house thanks to the donations from going viral. A man was finally arrested in a 1973 cold case. Long Beach, California has fixed nearly half of its 63,000 potholes. A stray dog that was desperate to be picked up by a pup bus got adopted. We have discovered that microplastics can be removed from water when you boil it. A California cat traveled 800 miles back home after getting lost at Yellowstone National Park. Thailand has recently seen a 250% increase in the number of tigers in the country.
The creepiest
Stay out of
places
Thailand.
in the world.
Lake Natron, Tanzania.
Due to high levels of salt contents, everything that touches the lake turns to pure stone.
Hello, my friend. That is not accurate. Lake Natron is a mineral-rich lake in Tanzania. Despite its high pH levels, it has some animals that live in it, including the Alclipia fish. The misconception that it turns anything that touches it to stone comes from these photographs. Basically, animals pass away for whatever reason, fall into the water, and become like mummified. A photographer found such animals at Lake Natron, but placed them in a position so they'd look like they're alive for the sake of the photo, which led to some awesome results. Also, this lake is actually where flamingos go to mate. If you're there at the right time, you will see millions.
Playing some optical illusion with our eyes, man. It's all a trick. Goes to show how easy it is, but a picture can manipulate a whole story, man. You don't even know. You debunked that, man.
Celebrity plastic surgery disasters. Anthony Lofredo before. After.
He didn't Look like an
Sagar
alien.
Tabar before. After. Michael Jackson before. After.
We don't have it with Jackson.
Jocelyn Wildenstein before. After.
Yeah, she wanted to look like a
Melanie
cat.
Martinez before. After. Donatella Versace before. After. Igor and Grichka Bogdanov before. After.
How do people do that?
This mother was found brutally murdered while her quadruplet toddlers were found covered in her blood. Sheila Bellish was a mother of 6. She had her 2 older daughters from a previous marriage with a man named Alan Blackthorne. After her divorce, she then had her 4 beautiful toddlers right here with this man named Jamie Bellish. On the evening of November 7th, 1997, Sheila was found by her oldest daughter here. After she came home from school, she saw her mother on the floor with her throat slit, and her 4 younger siblings, the quadruplets, were literally crawling all over their mother's blood. Now, when you see this family, they look perfect and happy, but Sheila's past with her ex-husband is very messy. This is Sheila's ex-husband, Alan Blackthorne, and he made her life a living nightmare. So much so that she had to move her entire family from Texas all the way to Florida just to get away from him. Alan was very rich, and a lot of people described him as obnoxious and just a shitty person, but after his divorce with Sheila, he owed her over $1 million for their divorce settlement. He was not happy about that at all, so he hired this man, Jose Luis del Toro, to take Sheila's life. Jose broke into Sheila's house where no one was there except for her and her 4 toddlers, and he watched as she interacted with her babies, and he said that at one point he wanted to leave because he felt bad, but then he ended up just going through with it, and he took her life. This case is extremely devastating. These 4 toddlers were forced to grow up without their mother. And then the daughter, who basically saw her mother in that state, which no child should ever have to. And then not only did they lose their mother, but they also lost their father through this process. Alan Blackthorne was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms in federal prison without the possibility of parole. And the hitman, Jose Luis del Toro, he did avoid the death penalty. Instead, he was given life in prison without the possibility of parole.
South Carolina, it's
someone.
your turn to be shamed for having creepy things. This is a gigantic children's museum that is a boy that you can go inside its body and look at its body parts. And this is how big it is compared to humans. Yeah, his name is Eddie, and this is called EdVenture, and it's in South Carolina. And look how tiny the people are compared to just its shoe. You can sit in the chair and take a picture with Eddie. I'd rather not. This is inside of Eddie's head, and you can see his eyeballs and his teeth. Also, if the children don't have faces, it's because I had to blur them out. So they might look like demons. You know what this reminds me of, though? When you're in the tubes at Chuck E. Cheese and you're trying to get your mom's attention. But yeah, look how absolutely massive that thing is compared to these kids. No. You can go on this catwalk and look at him, or you can literally just go inside him, like I said. Imagine it at night when all the lights of the museum go off and you can look through the window and see it in the pitch darkness. Look, this is Eddie's brain. You can go down these slides. There's a bunch of like interactive stuff for kids, like actually climbing up and going through his heart, stuff like that. It's nightmare fuel. Kids probably aren't scared though. Meanwhile, I would be. But yeah, have you seen Eddie? Will you go see Eddie? He is in South Carolina. Y'all are going to have to tell him that I said hello because I'm not going.
Before and after images that will shock you.
Desolate. They messing with that tomb, bro? Some Tomb Raiders? I thought you wasn't supposed to mess with that. That's looked like a significant piece of history. They couldn't help themselves, could they?
Well, I heard someone said your body, my choice.
I agree. The best one. It is a sickness. So here's how nature deals with that. Bonobos actually have a system where if one female gets pressed by a male and she's not feeling him, she'll let out a cry, and every female in the group will pull up and put the beats on dude until he learns respect. They actually managed to nerf male aggression through the power of friendship. So you know, when a new male lion takes over a pride, the first thing he does is cancel any cubs that didn't come from his. Well, sometimes the lionesses ain't having it. Sometimes they jump the new guy. There was one case in Masai Mara where a male tried to steal food from some cubs and got absolutely obliterated by the mothers. They castrated him. I can't even show you that picture. The biggest threat to a baby bear is a bigger male, and some mother bears will purposely live closer to people, knowing that's the only thing keeping her biggest ops away. Ironically, some bears choose the man. Funny. When a capybara wants to dub a guy, she'll dive into the nearest body of water and just sit there for as long as it takes. By the way, the guinea pig can stay under 5 minutes. Female dragonflies will fake their deaths to avoid male attention. Like they'll freeze in midair, crash to the ground, and just lay there and pray that stops them. Sometimes it doesn't. Some anacondas will seemingly let the male score, only to strangle him to a flatline and then eat him alive. The more you know.
Don't ever use a public bathroom again. This, my friends, is Akamata. Plus, drop a like, tag a friend, or she might get you. Akamata is a Japanese ghost that haunts and kills people in public bathrooms. They said that she'll walk up to you and ask you a series of questions. These are extremely important. The most important question being, would you rather choose red or blue? If you choose red, she'll chop you up into a million pieces. If you choose blue, she'll choke you to death until your face is blue. If you try to avoid the question entirely and choose a different color, she will drag you to hell to be never seen again. My question to you guys is it worth not waiting till you get home?
I haven't used public bathrooms like that, but only when
I
it's
didn't think it was
necessary.
possible, but this line was even more of a menace than I imagined. Like, I knew he was a hater, but I rewatched the doc, bro. This was Kitty King Von. The more lore you get, the crazier. First, his name, Ntwadumela, actually isn't Swahili. I was sorry to blame the documentary, but I watched. They never said it was Swahili. I think I made it my bad. But yeah, Ntwadumela's name is Siswana, or Sisutu, and it roughly translates to, if you want the smoke, we'll bring the fire to your front door. First red flag, he ran a pride with his brother Mandevu, but while Mandevu was only after that, Ntwadumela didn't care, he craved conflict. Now here's where he earns his name. His pride was beefing with a clan of hyenas, and we're talking blood feud. You know how bad? Animals mark their scent, but usually predators don't care about the scent mark of other predators. It got so personal, the lead hyena would go out of her way to mark over the pride scent mark. And for reference, that's like painting over the set. And when you realize what hyenas mark with, you see the disrespect. Look up hyena butter. It's not the type you put on popcorn. Now add the fact they were harassing members of his pride, and you knew. Ntwadumela was not letting it slide. Here's what he did. One night the Yeens and Lions were going at it, and Ntwadumela went straight for the matriarch and broke her back. Didn't even finish it, just cracked her like a glow stick and left like a sneaky link. Hyenas live in a complex hierarchy, so by crippling the leader, he basically tactically nuked their entire army. Now the diabolical part was the matriarch had a daughter who would have inherited the lead position, but because Ntwadumela went and bad-beat her mom, she lost all her status and got forced out the clan. So let's review. In one move, he assassinated the leader, left her to suffer, orphaned her daughter, ruined her future, destroyed her legacy, and caused the hyena civil war while ending theirs. Yeah, Ntwadumela got it. You've never heard a hyena stutter.
The 11-year-old sole survivor of a family.
And 6 steps, bro. My man completed the Black Air Force Energy, bro, trial. I don't know how he did that, bro. Man, don't mess with him, man. Him and his brother, they run that jungle, bro.
Family massacre in Fall City, Washington, played dead after her teenage brother allegedly opened fire at her. 5 members of the family, parents Mark and Sarah Humiston, and their children Catherine, 7, Joshua, 9, and Benjamin, 13, were killed in the shooting. The 11-year-old daughter watched in horror as her 15-year-old brother checked his victims' bodies for signs of life. After he shot her in the hand and the neck, she decided to play dead and escaped through a window after he left her room. The suspect was charged in juvenile court with 5 counts of aggravated murder and 1 count of attempted murder.
This is why a notorious Colombian hit woman known as The Doll was just arrested by police yesterday for several high-profile hits, including her ex-boyfriend. And no, none of you in the comments can fix her. It's reported that 23-year-old Karen Rodriguez was labeled as highly dangerous by police and that she was in the midst of a career expansion, leading a small team of hitmen conducting a spree of you-know-what in the region prior to her arrest. And after her capture went viral online, people pointing out how much she looks like actor Aubrey Plaza are now calling for a movie to be made and for her to star as the Doll character.
Shocking facts you didn't know about power cuts. 40% of adults in the UK admit their first call would be to their mum and dad during a power cut. Who would you call? The UK's most memorable power cut happened in 1978 during national strikes. 1 in 5 British people surveyed said they would sit in the dark until the power comes back on and hope someone else solves the problem. The 2003 power cut left 500,000 people without electricity for hours. Almost half of the adults in the UK admitted they don't know about the 105 emergency helpline number. What if you or someone you love need support during a power cut? Get prepared and learn more at nationalgrid.co.uk/get-switched-on.
The weirdest world records of
Cutting
all
power
time.
in the UK.
2011, a cheerleading team of 20 people set a world record. This record was fitting every single person into this tiny smart car. Now here's an interesting record that was broken by a woman in Japan. She popped 123 balloons with just her butt in 1 minute. I guess leg day really does pay off.
People you won't believe exist.
How?
Eli Thompson. He was born without a nose. Paul Carrison. His skin color is purple-blue.
Why? We heard about the blue people before.
Isaiah Costa. He was born without jaw and ability to speak, but become a rapper.
I never heard any of his work.
B. Melvin. She has naturally white hair since birth.
Yeah, she looked like a. Oh, she has that Targaryen hair.
Darina Spingler. She was born without chin and lips.
You learning, Seekers? So I watch these clips with you guys, man. Expanding my knowledge base every day.
Stillwater. We've already talked about Stillwater, but I had a dream last night that I fell in some still water, so I'm going to make it everyone else's problem. Stillwater is, get this, when water is still. It mostly occurs in like abandoned places, obviously, because there's no, vacuum keeping the water moving. So it's very, very dangerous, as we've already talked about. There are like a bunch of like brain-eating amoebas probably in here, and don't fall in it. I found this picture on Reddit, and my soul left my body. Why does that look like a wig? Why does it look like the Grudge is in chocolate milk, and it's coming to kill me? This one looks like Shrek and Fiona had some fun in it, if you get my drift. This one is more liminal spaces, but the decals of, are those whales or dolphins, on the bottom of the pool would send me into cardiac arrest. Any pools that have anything on the bottom of them, like a decal or something, count me out, because I'm already scared there's a shark in there. Why are there so many abandoned pools that have not been cleaned out? Why? This abandoned YMCA with this water sitting in there for like 5 to 10 years? Why? Yeah, Stillwater is dangerous, y'all. Don't mess with it. This is horrifying. I don't know why it's so much less scary to think about falling in water that is, aerated, no movement is so much scarier. How do you feel about Stillwater?
Do not watch
Stay away from
because
it.
It will unalive you. Why is this known as the most deadly film on Earth? Movie Antrum is about two siblings who accidentally dig a hole that leads to hell. It reportedly caused over 60 unalives, and when you start the film it even comes up with a legal warning that you have to read. Need people mysteriously passing away after watching this film. So, this actually released in 2018, but the actual original Antrum released in 1970. Rumored to have been completely lost because you cannot find it anywhere, even though there is documentation of it being shown in theatres, which I'll get to. So, several film festivals who received the movie back in the 70s, people that got it vanished, passed away. But by far the craziest, a movie theatre completely catching alight while the film was being screened. In 1988, in Budapest, the film Antrum was showed. It burned down and unalived 56 people. This is an actual photo from the scene. This is 100% real. There is still no trace what caused this fire, and the reel that the film played off remained intact, completely unharmed. All of these events caused Antrum to become the most cursed film and dangerous film on the planet. You can watch this new version. As I say, it has a pretty severe warning at the start, but I do not recommend it. Let me know in the comments if you've seen it.
He broke a world record because police forgot about him. In 1979, 18-year-old Andreas Mihavecz was taken into police custody following a car accident. Now, he was simply the passenger of the car and had absolutely no involvement with the wreck. But despite this, he was placed in a basement holding cell by Austrian police. Now, he should have been promptly released, but they kind of forgot about him. The 3 officers who were all involved with the case all thought that another one had already released him. It wasn't until the room he was in began to smell that they found him 18 days later. During his incarceration, he had lost over 50 pounds and survived by drinking condensed water on the prison walls. His mother repeatedly visited the police station asking the whereabouts of her son, and she was ignored. During the trial, all 3 officers kind of just put the blame on one another. But they did all receive a pretty hefty fine, and Andreas was awarded the 250,000 shillings that he demanded. To this day, even though he didn't try, he still holds the Guinness World Record for the longest surviving time without food or water.
I got 250,000. Nah, I would have had to get a meal off that. Bump that, man. Kept me in there 18 days without food or water, and he survived. They all should have
I know you know
fired.
this holiday movie, but do you know these movie facts? Holiday Horror Advent Calendar Day 6, and today is Black Christmas, 2006 version. I hope this doesn't get me canceled, but I love the original Black Christmas, but I prefer this one. Black Christmas is about this escaped maniac who goes back to his childhood home, which is now a sorority house, and wreaks havoc on the sorority sisters. Movie trivia number 1. In the background of one of the scenes, we see something very familiar. You can spot the leg lamp from the movie A Christmas Story, which was directed by Bob Clark, who also directed the original Black Christmas. Movie trivia number 2. The movie was filmed in Canada and only took 29 days to complete filming. Movie trivia number 3. Writer and director Glenn Morgan really wanted to expand on Billy's character because he felt like that's what was missing in the original Black Christmas, so when he was coming up with different character traits, he studied one very specific person. He based a lot of character traits and backstory on real-life serial unaliver Edmund Kemper.
What is the biggest difference between Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, and the new age slasher Art the Clown? It's this one thing. Will Gen slashers always hold true to this? Because they're not threats. But will Art the Clown see it that way? I don't know, because from what I've been told, the first couple minutes of Terrifier 3 are said to be some of the most disgusting, disturbing, and shocking things we've ever seen. And that's saying a lot, because Terrifier 2 is absolutely insane, especially the bedroom scene. People were literally running out of the theaters and throwing up when they first saw Terrifier 2. And if the first couple minutes of Terrifier 3 are said to be some of the most shocking and disturbing things we've seen from Art, what does that mean for this little person? But what's gonna happen? Because from the countless set photos we've seen, Art the Clown is dressed up as Santa Claus and going to the mall. Meaning he's gonna have a ton of people around him sitting on his lap and telling him what he wants for Christmas. Now, we already know what Art the Clown wants for Christmas. He wants to decorate with people. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions and tagged in this video. Do I think Art the Clown is genuinely gonna pack this kid up? I don't know. I don't think Damien Leone is going to go that far, but if it's been said that this movie is going to be 10 times shocking, especially the first 5 minutes, and we've already seen the 2-minute clip where Buddy's going crazy downstairs, I really don't know if I would put it past Art the Clown for him to do this. I just kind of hope not.
So much has happened in the last 24 hours, it's insane. California was hit with a 7.0 magnitude earthquake, which then triggered a tsunami warning, which was then cancelled. The French government has literally collapsed after their prime minister was booted out in the first successful vote of no confidence in over 60 years. Romania's constitutional court has just ordered their presidential elections to restart from scratch after intelligence documents suggested that the winner of the first round benefited from a mass foreign influence operation. People are calling for the Hoktua girl to be investigated after she launched a meme coin that dropped over 90% of its value overnight, losing people millions of dollars. The words carved onto the shell's use in the killing of United Health CEO claim to lead to this book titled Delay, Deny, Defend: Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It. The Czech Republic has just passed a bill exempting Bitcoin held for more than 3 years from capital gains tax starting 2025. The family of the teenage boy who fell to his death on the drop ride at Orlando theme park in 2022 has just been awarded a huge $310 million payout. TikTok lost its appeal to strike down the TikTok ban law, and NASA has just delayed its first mission to put humans on the moon in over 50 years to no earlier than mid-2020.
This man lost his life after his pet hippo turned on him. Marius Els adopted 5-month-old baby Humphrey and took him to live in his 400-acre farm in South Africa. When Humphrey was a baby, everything was fine, but a lot of people warned Marius how dangerous Humphrey can become when he gets bigger. Marius ignored everyone and treated Humphrey like a pet. He would even ride on his back for fun and showed zero fear of this hippo. But it wasn't long until Humphrey got bigger and he eventually reached 1.2 tons and attacked Marius's nephew and almost killed him. But that's not all. In 2011, Humphrey attacked Marius in front of his family and took his life. This all happened when Marius called Humphrey to eat, and according to Marius's family, Humphrey's demeanor was different on this day, basically showing signs of aggression. Marius believed that his pet hippo would never betray him, so he ignored all these signs. When he continued to call Humphrey out of the water to eat, Humphrey suddenly stormed out and attacked Marius, biting into his body multiple times and then dragging him into the water. And this all happened in front of his family, the same people that warned Marius about Humphrey. What's crazy is that even though hippos look super sweet and cute compared to other wild animals, they actually kill more people each year than any other mammal on this planet. Just something to keep in mind.
They wild animals, man.
The Buenos Aires mysteriously turned red, sparking fears among locals of a toxic spill, according to local reports. Local media say that authorities have collected water samples to investigate the discoloration of the river, which flows into the Rio de la Plata and is near an ecological reserve, according to Reuters. Initial findings from government agencies suggest that the substance may not be toxic, according to Reuters.
Morbid facts.
It's not toxic, so so why is the water red? Maybe it's a sign. It was coming like, back in the old days, but there's something going on, man. That's in Rio too. I'm definitely going to have to freaking check up on that, man. My sense is going off on that one.
Part 509. In 2016, Texas father Daniel Shaver was held up by police after he was seen pointing a pellet gun out of his hotel window. Several officers had rifles pointed at Shaver in the hallway as he attempted to comply with them, but their commands were confusing and contradictory, especially since Shaver was drunk. For example, they told Shaver not to put his hands down for any reason before telling him to start crawling towards them. As Shaver was crawling and begging for his life, he reached back to pull his pants up and was killed instantly by Officer Philip Brailsford, who later claimed he thought Shaver was reaching for a weapon. Brailsford was charged with second-degree murder and found not guilty, since the full unedited footage wasn't released until hours after his acquittal. Brailsford was rehired by the department and reimbursed for all the medical expenses he paid, while seeking treatment for the PTSD he claimed he acquired from the shooting. Because of this, Brailsford was medically retired and now collects a $2,500 pension every month.
Man, that's a chilling story. And that's how, man, me personally, I ain't playing with no freaking BB guns and stuff like that, because people can misinterpret it and a real situation could happen. So I don't play with that stuff. It ain't worth it. You saw firsthand. Trust me, man. You know what this is.
This is what they meant when they said, "Don't talk to strangers." In the early 1900s, a 10-year-old boy was playing in the woods when a tall man appeared and asked if he wanted to come back to his cabin for dinner. Totally caught off guard, the boy reluctantly agrees and begins walking. When they get to the cabin, the boy is relieved when he sees Paul, a family friend, sitting on the porch, so the boy happily goes inside. After they eat, the boy says thank you to the strange tall man, says bye to Paul, and then he leaves. He had only walked a few steps when he sees his family, along with Paul, running up the path towards him, frantically asking if he was okay. Confused, the boy says, "I'm just fine," and he looks at Paul and he's like, "Why didn't you tell them I was with you at the cabin?" And he points over his shoulder. Paul glances over the boy's shoulder and then narrows his eyes and says, "You were kidnapped by a cult 3 days ago. No one's seen you." Terrified, the boy turns around to look at the cabin he just came from, and it's gone. All he sees is a dark forest that stretches for miles.
What the hell?
Scary games you should never play. This is the cat scratch game. The game requires 2 players. Player 1, lie your back on the floor with your head resting on player 2's lap. Player 2 will recite one of these 2 stories while rubbing player 1's temples.
I never play any of these scary games that get suggested.
When player 2 has finished the story, stand up and pull up player
everyone's shirt. Their backs should be covered in red claw marks. Many swear that whatever scratched them was something much more sinister than just a cat.
This is why it's always a bad idea to go to graveyards at night. Urban explorer Frank from Franco TV explored a graveyard in Peru. As he explores the area, he sees a group of people far in the corner. Not knowing what's going on and worried for his safety, he hides in a tomb waiting for them to leave. 30 minutes gone by, they turn off the lights and begin to leave. Scared someone may still be there, Frank waits 30 more minutes. As he makes his way to the tomb, what he finds is disturbing. Frank finds a circle of candles and what looks like a voodoo doll next to a star. He also finds a container with unknown contents. As Frank tries to communicate with the spirits in that area, he hears laughing coming from one of the graves. Worried for his safety, he decides to leave and says he doesn't want any problems or to be followed by anything there. As Frank makes his way out, he sees something horrifying. What looks like a person can be seen peeking at Frank from the corner of the tomb. But when he checks around the tomb, there's no one there.
Somebody was definitely still
Friendly
there.
reminder that if you're ever in Churchill, Canada, it is illegal, if not very frowned upon, to lock your car. The reason is so that if a polar bear comes after you, hiding in someone else's car might be your only option. Not only are polar bears one of the few animals that'll actively try to eat humans, since they can track prey from miles away, they'll smell you way before you see them. Remember, if it's brown, get on the ground. If it's black, fight back. Talking about bears. If it's white like an addict's nose, your casket finna be closed.
Okay, stay away from polar bears. Once again, noted. I didn't know there was a law, I guess, where it was at that you had to keep your car door open because if we could attack you like that, man. I keep thinking about that meme, bro. What the hell is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas?
This is a test to see if you have healthy eyes. If you pass all 5 levels, your vision is perfect.
Let's do it.
All you have to do is pick one out of the 10 colors that is different from the rest. Starting off easy, you can clearly see that number 7 is lighter than the rest of them. 97% of people pass this stage, but it's about to get way harder. Okay, let's move on to medium. This one is a little more difficult and will require a little more attention. The correct answer is 2. Level advanced is even harder. Only 30% of people make it past this stage, so really focus and you'll see that the correct answer is 4. Superhuman. This level is really going to test your vision, and I know these look identical, but if you look closely, number 4 is slightly different. And the final level, impossible. 92% of people failed this level, and the answer is 10. Were you right? Comment below.
Oh, man. I tried to pass that test. I think the last one, that's what really got to me, bro. But I basically passed it all up until the last one, man. Did you guys keep up?
Don't even get me started on Laura Caron. That teacher was sexually assaulting a 13-year-old boy since he was 11 years old, got pregnant with his baby, and then wasn't even arrested until the baby was 5. And as of today, she has been released from jail. If you've never heard of Laura Caron, she worked at Middle Township Elementary School. She was a 5th grade teacher, meaning that she primarily worked with 10 to 11-year-old students. And from 2016 to 2020, she was sexually abusing a boy who she had had as a student. She had also had his brother in her class. And obviously it was before this all came out, but he, his brother, and his sister, so 3 siblings, actually went to go live in her home for a period of time. And that was between 2016 and 2020, and that is when things got really bad for that boy. According to his sister, when that boy would go into the bathroom to take a shower, Laura would go into the bathroom and lock the door. Additionally, all of the siblings shared a bedroom in her house. However, in the morning when the 2 other siblings would wake up, they would notice that their brother wasn't there, and their brother was in bed with Laura. She had become friends with the parents of those siblings, and she was actually trusted to be a resource parent. In New Jersey, the term resource parent is a synonym for foster parent. But Laura took that trust and completely violated it. She violated their son, and she managed to get away with it for years until December of 2024. That is when she was arrested. I believe it was December 17th. It was found out because the child that she had was a son who looked a lot like the son who she sexually abused. And he looked a lot like the victim's father, and understandably so. And the victim confirmed to his sister that he was the father. She appeared in court today, Tuesday, January 21st of 2025. The judge has ruled that she can be released as her case continues.
A teacher gave a final exam where students had to draw and achieve a high score in the shortest possible time. While walking around the classroom, the teacher noticed one student drawing in an incredibly surprising and unconventional way. The student used a ruler and 2 pens to make their drawing perfectly identical to the reference image. What do you think about this?
This is how you can get full control over your body.
If you're ever feeling really stressed or anxious, I got you. All you have to do is slowly blow on your thumb for 30 seconds like this. This will slow down your heartbeat and calm your nerves so you won't have to worry anymore. Next, if you ever wake up in the morning and your hand or arm has fallen asleep, all you have to do is shake your head and it will quickly go away. But if your leg falls asleep, all you have to do is wiggle your toes and your leg will be back to normal right away. If you're ever sick to your stomach and you want to get feeling better quickly, listen up. Squeeze down your left thumb like this to deactivate your gag reflex so you won't gag. And place your thumb right here on your wrist to get rid of your nausea. Finally, eating peanut butter before you fall asleep at night could change your life. It's scientifically proven that eating peanut butter before you fall asleep can help you fall asleep much faster. And it will also give you insanely vivid dreams. A rare and mysterious illness is currently sweeping through a city in India, leaving patients suddenly paralyzed and unable to control their body. With what began as a child struggling to hold their pencil in January, has now escalated into a full-scale medical emergency. Over 170 reported cases, dozens in intensive care, at least 5 suspected deaths, and even teams from the WHO arriving in Pune to investigate. But here's what makes this illness so terrifying. It has what's referred to as the Russian roulette effect. You see, the bacteria that can trigger the paralysis is everywhere. It's found in contaminated food and water, and most people consume it at some point in their life without even knowing. But for reasons that scientists still don't fully understand yet, only in a small percentage of cases, this bacteria can trigger Guillain-Barré syndrome, which causes the immune system to go rogue, shutting down your body piece by piece. For example, last month, a school teacher noticed that our 6-year-old son couldn't hold his pencil properly, and within days, his legs and arms stopped working. He lost the ability to swallow, speak, and eventually breathe, requiring ventilator support. At that stage, you can think of it like having sleep paralysis while being fully awake. Now, because there is no cure for GBS, early intervention is critical. And that's why authorities have now set up special hospital wards, launched mass water testing, and called in the WHO in efforts to contain the outbreak and prevent more lives being put at risk. As the situation develops, I'll keep you guys updated.
This preacher calls
keep me up to date.
Paranormal in church. Let's watch it together.
Well, hey everybody, Pastor Aaron here. It's my pleasure just to announce that this Sunday will be open.
Oh nah.
Okay, we've been trying to do this announcement several times today already, and 3 times that podium back there has fallen over on its own, and it's stable. I mean, it's not wobbly at all.
Leave the church. I would leave.
It's kind of like
I'm hitting the jets.
Wow. That podium has been wobbling. Okay, so we checked the vent. There's a vent there that is not an air duct that has any forced air at all, so it can't be wobbling from that. There's absolutely no breeze in here. You can see by the banner there.
Call Ghostbusters.
There's no air conditioning. It's these things, they're off. I don't know. So I'm just gonna sit here and watch it for a little bit, and we will see if it does it again.
Oh nah, I'm leaving.
Nothing's moving. That hasn't been moving.
I'm leaving. Is he there?
He's still there?
Seriously, nothing else. There's no breeze. It's moving again.
It's time to go.
Oh yeah, I'm out. I'm in the jets.
Pass that's so big it could double as a billboard? Well, one man's oversized ticket has taken the internet by storm. This hilarious moment was caught on camera in an airport when a guy rolled up to the gate with what might just be the world's most dramatic boarding pass. Of course, it wasn't long before a very confused officer had to step in. While people who saw the huge boarding pass thought it was a joke, the passenger was completely serious. But as for the officer, he was trying his hardest to not crack up while keeping the situation serious. This lady just broke a Guinness World of Record by eating cotton candy. Meet Leia Shuckkeever, a speed eater extraordinaire who just devoured an insane amount of cotton candy in only 60 seconds, shattering the Guinness World Record. But the best part? When she was presented with the Grinchy treat, she had one simple question. Why is it green? David Wilson, the adjudicator, couldn't help but respond with a smile and said, "It's quite Grinchy."
That candy loss. Why is it green? It's quite Grinchy. It is quite Grinchy.
To break the record, Leia had to demolish at least 45 grams of this sticky sweet green goo in under a minute. And did she? Of course she did, leaving her with sticky fingers and a sticky face. But Leia isn't just about cotton candy. She's also set records for inhaling 19 chicken nuggets in a minute and 10 Jolly Donuts in 3 minutes.
Damn, speed eating? I couldn't do that, man. She broke all those records. Hey, she got a talent, bro. She's talented. Gotta give it that. I gotta get that to her.
We now actually know what happens when we die. In some of the biggest news of the century, we've now got evidence suggesting that your life carries on after you die, and it gets a lot crazier than that. Make sure you share this video with your friends and family, because you don't want to miss this. So an old woman was passing away, and as she died, they had her hooked up to a machine which was monitoring her brain. Now what scientists got from these scans after she passed away was these photos, which don't look like much right now. But what these show is that a part of the brain, specifically the part of the brain that processes memories and experiences, was still active after death for around 8 minutes. And this is crazy because years ago I made a video saying about the 8 minutes after death and how your brain is still active. They did tests before on a man who died and found similar things, but nothing as concrete as this. As I say, from these scans, it showed that the brain was still active for around 8 minutes after this woman passed away. And specifically that she was processing memories, i.e. her life, flashing before her eyes, a common term you've probably heard. So this suggests that when you pass away, your life does flash before your eyes. You get memory flashbacks and maybe relive parts of your life. It also links into the theory I've spoken about before and many people have said. Think about when you have a dream. Sometimes dreams can feel really real and time's different, time dilation of course. Sometimes you'll have a dream, it feels like an hour, but you wake up and it's been about 2 minutes. Well, the same might be happening in this 8 minutes after death. Reliving memories, what feels like days, weeks, but it's only in the 8 minutes. Or maybe even like a lucid dream, creating some sort of new reality. So what's to say you're not dead right now in that 8 minutes? And this is all just a figment of your imagination.
What are the chances of two rivers?
That brings up a good point, man, especially at the end. That's like the simulation theory. That's what I got. But life, we heard before, you know, like your life flashed before your eyes. Guess there's some truth to that. We learning today.
2,000 miles apart, mysteriously turning blood red at the same time. And we don't know the cause for either. Worried residents in both Lima, Peru and Buenos Aires, Argentina have shared footage online reporting strong odors accompanying the discoloration. One local described the scene saying, "It looks like a stream of blood. We have never seen it like this." Now, while we don't know for sure what's caused either yet, I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a scene from a biblical prophecy. I'll just leave that there for a second. Rather, in Peru, environmental experts believe that it could be caused by pollutants discharged from mines and drainage pipes flowing into the river. Despite this, local water supplier, Sinopal, assured the public that the water is still safe to drink. And they better be bloody right, because this river is one of the country's most important water sources. And then for the river in Argentina, authorities suspect the presence of aniline, which is a toxic substance used in dyes, and they believe that it could have been dumped there by local companies. But then again, if Jesus did want to come back, it's not a bad time.
Those freaking two rivers turn red connected.
Susan Lewis and her daughter Jamie moved into a new home in Southern California, and shortly after moving in, Susan's new boyfriend Matt, he moved in as well. Also, Matt had a daughter named Marie, who was the same age as Jamie. A few weeks after moving in, Susan goes into the kitchen and she sees on the counter that a peanut butter jar had its lid off and had been turned on its side. Peanut butter seemed to be running out of the jar like it had been melted. So she figures one of the kids must have come in here and for whatever reason, microwaved the peanut butter and then dumped it on the counter. And Jamie would say that she literally laughed at her mom, like, why would I do that? And Marie too is like, no, I didn't touch the peanut butter. And all four of them spend the rest of the day goofing around outside near the pool. Later that day, they find that there have been cans that you would keep in your pantry, like canned food, stacked on each of the steps leading upstairs. They also find that there have been random objects placed all over the house in strange patterns. Hairbrushes arranged in a star pattern on the counter. They open the microwave and find peanut butter jars and other random canned foods and stuffed animals from the kids' rooms in the microwave. The cleaning materials underneath the sink had been pulled out and arranged in a height line from shortest to tallest. They think that someone's invaded their house, so they run back out again and no one's come near their property. Ultimately just kind of moved on. In the last couple of weeks that they ever stayed at this house, because they would leave, 2 major events occurred. The first one happened when Marie was home alone. She's sitting in the living room watching TV, and at some point the TV starts turning off and on. And the TV finally just turns off. She can't get it on. She reaches for the remote. The remote flies off the table as all the pictures on the walls just start one by one falling off the wall. She takes her camera in her hand and kind of turns it and just starts taking pictures of the room. There are these weird orbs of light that are very clearly in the room with her. The second major event that occurred in those final 2 weeks, Jamie was in her room and she starts hearing pounding on her door. She started filming this pounding on her door.
Seen this firsthand.
And so she didn't open the door, and she went back onto her bed, and she just sat there in the fetal position for 3 hours, listening to something smashing nonstop into the door. She opens the door, and there's no one there. But the door on the outside, where the knocking had been happening, there's this huge dent and divot in the door. She sees that now there is a frying pan sitting in the hall that has a toilet paper roll completely on fire. Grabs a sweatshirt and she smothers the fire. And she goes outside defeated and just sits on the front steps of her house. Jamie explains what happens, and that was it. And so they barely packed up and they left that house. It didn't sell. Susan literally went bankrupt. And soon after they left the neighborhood, their neighbors left the neighborhood, and 5 other neighbors in their immediate vicinity all left. All of the houses did not sell. They are all vacant.
First games you should never play. Part 5, the Man in the Fields game. This game will grant you physical and financial protection for the rest of your years. To play this game, you'll have to go into your backyard at 9 o'clock. Once you're there, you'll say the words, "But who will scare the crows away?" You'll whisper this 7 times and you should hear a voice responding, "That's not your biggest problem." This has officially started the game. Next, you'll go into your house. You'll find a room that has only 1 door. This will be your safe room. Once you leave this room, you'll notice that everything that can be opened in your house will be. Doors, cabinets, bags, containers, everything. Now you have until midnight. Your job is to close everything in your house. Throughout this game, you'll see a shadowy man dressed in farmer's clothes. This is not the man in the fields. Think of him as like a referee. But if you even look into the backyard, even accidentally, you'll see a scarecrow that was not there before. If you see him, he also sees you. Once he sees you, he'll start to walk towards you. You need to get to your safe room as soon as possible. But if you close everything by midnight, go to sleep until 6 a.m. This will end the game and you will have won.
I never play those games, man.
This is the time I discovered a dark secret under the McDonald's ball pit. In 1995, me as a senior in high school got a summer job at McDonald's to save up for my dream car, a 95 Stang. For the most part, I cleaned the store, including the play place. This McDonald's was really weird though, because from time to time, kids would go missing. The play place was pretty enclosed and we had no clue how this could have happened. The store was sued tons of times, but always won because there was no evidence by experts about it having any risks. The blame was usually put on the parents. I soon learned what the cause of the disappearances were. One day as I was cleaning tables, a scream erupted. A mother said her son had gone missing. A few kids said that they saw him fall into the ball pit and never came out. But as all the parents and employees were talking amongst themselves, their claims were dismissed as fellow guests comforted the mom. After we closed up shop for the night and the police had left, I had to finish cleaning the store alone. I was curious about what those kids were saying about the ball pit. Oddly enough, that's the one spot I was never taught how to clean it, and you'd think that a place like that would have to be cleaned. I sprayed my towel with Kleenex and leaned my whole arm inside. Man, no wonder these kids got in so deep. I could put my whole arm inside. I took my broomstick and shoved it in, and it went all the way in. I couldn't feel the bottom. I then decided to step in. Just then I couldn't feel the floor. I decided to let the ball pit consume me, and I just kept sinking in. I'll show you what was on the other side next time.
We know those ball pits are deep, but what the hell? It sounds like they're going into like another dimension. They better go to the upside down or something, bro. Something in that ball pit.
So I discovered something disturbing under the McDonald's ball pit. As I sunk in deeper, I eventually fell through to the other side. I found myself in a huge ball pit. It was dark. I climbed out and saw the rest of my surroundings. I realized I was in a basement under McDonald's. Everything felt so eerie, especially with the low hum emitting from the lights. Just then I saw a way out. I began going upstairs and heard a clap. I quietly ran up as fast as possible. I heard in the far distance. I opened the door and shut it silently. I was in the back of the restaurant now. I couldn't question or process anything in the moment. All I did was darted for my car and got out of there. That night, I couldn't sleep. I really couldn't process anything. That morning, I drove back. Later on, our boss came in. Obviously, for me, he's suspect number one for this. I started a conversation with him and asked about what this door was. Oddly enough, he said that this was our basement storage room, which I guess is partially true, and I asked him if there's anything weird down there. And he said no, just normal equipment. He never acknowledged the oddly placed ball pit there. That night, everyone left. That leader from earlier said bye to me, but then proceeded to stare at me for a good 3 seconds and didn't say anything. He then closed the door. After about an hour of cleaning, I headed for the ball pit. I stood in the same spot from before, but I didn't fall in. There was no hole. I began moving the balls until I could see that there was a floorboard placed there. In that moment, whoever was responsible for this knew that I knew. I called 911 and told them I have reason to believe I know what happened to all those kids. I took my broom and I broke down the board and I fell in, this time being more observant. I noticed a small shoe near a door that I hadn't entered before. Tune in next time to see what happens.
Did he find him?
Who are you saying goodnight to?
Him.
Who?
Him. Good night.
Jugger, there's no one up there.
Him up there.
Show me.
Him up there. Him up there.
Better check.
Jugger, there's no one up there.
Could be a squatter.
He's been talking to that vent and then he was blowing it kisses. And I'm creeped out now. Like, seriously, I'm not joking. I'm so creeped out right now.
Somebody could be in that vent, man.
My daughter has a disturbing and deadly talent. 6 words. So innocent, and yet, they had ruined everything. Daddy, look what I can do. I had turned, smiling, to see my daughter's newest magic trick. I stopped smiling when I saw it. My heart stopped, my blood ran cold, a disturbing reminder of things past. I grabbed her by the shoulders, a little too hard. Made her promise to never tell another soul about what she could do. I made her swear so many times. She was crying by the end. Her face was ugly and contorted, her nose dripping snot. But she promised. I always knew that would not be the end of it. I knew what I had to do. Slip some sleeping pills into her drink, and cover her face with a pillow, like I had done with her mom. But I could not bring myself to do it. I loved her far too much, even more than I had loved my wife. And as she grew older, looking more like her mother every day, I knew it was only a matter of time. I still remember the night my wife told me, the night of our 5th anniversary. She had bought my favorite scotch, cooked us both some thick steaks, and sat me down at the dining room table. Our baby son was sleeping soundly in his room. I have something important to tell you, she said. Her tone sent chills trickling down my spine. I'm pregnant, she said flatly. My breath caught in my throat. I smiled. She did not. I don't understand, I said, breathlessly. Isn't this good news? My wife's lips pursed into a thin white line. It's a girl, she said. I can feel it. I waited for her to explain why she was upset, but instead, she started talking nonsense. The girls in my family. She trailed off. We all have a special ability. I shook my head. Okay? I said, my mind a question mark. And what is that? My wife frowned. It's better if I show you.
What is it? What ability are they talking about?
My daughter has a disturbing and deadly talent. She lifted the steak knife from beside her plate. Before I could stop her, she violently slashed open her wrist. I sent my chair clattering to the floor behind me as I lunged for my wife. I grabbed her arm so hard. But what I saw did not make any sense. Her arm was slashed down to the bone, but the blood did not flow out. It won't come out unless I let it, said my wife. It was then the blood began to flow. Down her arm, then up, into a shape. It detached and rose up, forming itself into a face, floating in midair. My wife's face. Then spiraling back down, like a funnel, into her open arm. The flesh knitted itself back together. That night, my dinner went untouched. What happened next was all my fault. But, in my defense, I felt my trust had been betrayed. I did not know where to turn. Weak and weary, I turned to the arms of another woman. Of course these things always come out. When I came home that day, my wife was sitting in one of the wooden dining room chairs. She had moved it to the middle of the living room, so that she was facing the door when I came in. Our baby daughter was snoring gently in her room. I could hear our son as he watched cartoons in his own. As I looked into my wife's eyes, I knew that she already knew. She stood up. My blood ran cold. Then I realized that it wasn't just a chill, my blood was actually getting colder. My wife walked slowly towards me. "I can freeze you from the inside," she said. "Burst all the blood vessels in your body. I can boil you alive. I can make you bleed from your eyes, your ears, and every pore. And next time, I will." My heart stopped, and I collapsed unconscious to the floor. By the time that I awoke, my wife had already found my lover, and done the last one she had threatened me with to her. After that we always fought, and my wife began to lose it. My mother died from a cerebral hemorrhage. My sister died from a stomach bleed. She never admitted it, but I knew that it was her. I had no choice, I had to kill her. And now, I wondered if I should have killed my daughter, too. My heart throbbed with guilt as I thought back to the first time she had shown me her magic trick, all those many years ago. I knew I could have stopped this all with a pillow and some pills, just as I had done with my wife. She said it was an accident. And maybe it was. But as I stared down at the body of my son, covered in blood that had exploded from every pore, I didn't really care.
You know that's a Reddit story, man. The way that sounds like it sounds like it was made up. I don't know who comes up with those stories, man, but that one was definitely out there. Truly. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video. Comment down below. Hit that post notification bell so you guys get notified when I upload my next video. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.